This whole back on my feet idea and organization didn't start by a bunch of people getting together and thinking that the answer to solving the homeless problem must be running. That's how it has to happen. There can't be no one else thought of it before. I grew up in North Dakota, and I had a really fantastic childhood. There's not a lot of crime back in North Dakota. It's pretty safe, and you could ride your bike till midnight, and everybody had a bike and they had a yard, and everything was just really good. I had a great family. My mom and my dad were wonderful. I thought they had a great marriage. We spent a lot of time at our cabin on the weekends. I have a younger brother and an older sister. And ever since the age of 12, I thought I had my whole life figured out. I had this box of what my world was going to look like when I got big. And it included this huge white house with a white picket fence, a husband who's very tall, dark, and handsome. And I wasn't like that because he's 5'9", but he makes up for it in other areas. And it included, I didn't mean it that way, stop making it us. And then his caring and appreciation and support. I had my whole world figured out. And I had this fantastic relationship with my dad, who is my person. There are just people in your life who you get so emotional about, you can't describe it. And my dad and I had a relationship based on wit and sports, and he was just a fun guy that everybody really adored. And I couldn't get enough of him. And when I was 16 years old, my whole world came crumbling down. And I still remember this day vividly. I was 16, it was summer before my sophomore year in high school. I was sitting home on my couch in our basement. My dad comes home from work early and asked if me and my brother and sister can leave for a couple hours so he can talk to my mom. He's never said anything or made a request like that before, and we all knew something was wrong, but we left. And I was the first one to come back a couple hours later. My mom wasn't there, but my dad was sitting on the couch looking somber and embarrassed and scared and not at all like this superhero dad that I knew. I sat down next to my dad and obviously asked him what was going on. And that's the day that I learned that my dad had a gambling addiction. And as addictions work, you usually don't find out about them from the person who has the addiction until they get to a point of no return. And my dad had gambled away hundreds of thousands of dollars that our family didn't have. And it pissed my mom off, as you can possibly imagine. But that unfortunately was not my dad's first introduction with addiction. He went through drug and alcohol recovery when I was really young. I have never seen my dad drink or do drugs. I have extraordinary memories of him. But for my mom, she went through all of that, and she was on the receiving end of everything that comes with addiction, which includes deception and lying and cheating and irresponsibility. Things, again, I would never use to describe my dad. So for my mom, this was the straw that broke the camel's back, and she kicked my dad out that day. And I, turned into this confused 16-year-old kid who has no idea what's happening, and developed a lot of resentment toward her mom for not giving somebody the love and support that I think that my dad needs to get through this issue. So she kicked my dad out that day, and I spent the next 3 years being awful to my mom. I couldn't begin to understand my mom's decisions to again kick our dad out and ruin our family. I also spent those next 3 years trying to fix my dad. I didn't know a lot about addiction. All I wanted to do was to help my dad get better. And so I would, make goals with my dad and have this, sit down and talk with him about trying to get him to stop gambling. And I found myself on the receiving end of a lot of what my mom used to. My dad wasn't ready to get better yet, and it really made me feel like I was failing as a daughter because nothing I could do or say was going to help him. So for me, I started running. I'd been an athlete all through middle school and growing up and loved sports, and knew that I really liked the way that I felt when I was being active. So running allowed me a place that I could go to feel good about myself. I never finished my run feeling badly about who I was, and I found myself getting consumed by all these life lessons that the sport offers, taking things one step at a time. Understanding that to finish 10 miles, you got to do the 1 through 9 in between. There's no cheating running. You can't do it any other way. And also realizing that you're going to be on some difficult roads in life, and you can either make a decision to keep running and hope that you're going to find something better, or you can just sit and hope somebody else makes it better for you. So I made the choice that I was going to go get everything that I ever wanted in that box. And I'm going to go have this amazing life and almost make up for the fact that my family life was a little bit screwed up. So I start going a million miles a minute. I go to college, go to grad school in Washington, D.C., and I get a job offer in Philly when I was 24 years old to go move up there. And the only thing that has remained stable in my fast-paced life, I felt like, was my running. Still something, I did every single morning. I've become a marathoner at this point. But everything else in my world seemed to not make sense. And I never could figure out why our family had to go through that hardship that we had to go through, why my parents had to get divorced, why my didn't work out the way that it was supposed to. And I really wanted value and meaning and purpose in my life. And so working, 2 years into my job, which was for another nonprofit, decided I need to leave Philly. I have to go figure out who I am. And I think every single one of us have felt that at some point in our lives that we're just looking for the reason why you're here. And so I was gonna, move to New York or Chicago. I wish I could say Dallas, but it wasn't on my list. I was committed to making anything happen to, again, feel value for the person I wanted to be. So I quit my job and get approached by this big company in Philly to go work for them and travel the country. And I thought, I don't think my mission or my calling is in the corporate world, but I might learn a lot about myself. And if I do this for a couple of years, maybe I'll really figure out what I'm supposed to do. So I decided if I get this job, I'm going to take it. But like I said, running had remained the only thing stable in my life. So I was running really early in the morning back when I was 26, around 5 a.m. or so. And when I lived in Philly, there was, I lived in an up-and-coming neighborhood. And there was a homeless shelter not even a half a mile away from me that I had passed hundreds of times on my way to work. I had ran by it hundreds of times. But for whatever reason, in May of 2007, there were these group of guys standing outside on the corner on my morning runs, and I started to wave at them. And they started to wave back at me. And pretty soon we have this, really fun rapport going back and forth that's based on sarcasm. It reminds me a lot of my dad. These guys asking me if all I do all day is run, and me asking them if all I do is stand on that corner. And I didn't talk to them or make fun of them because they were homeless. That's just the way I talk to anybody. And and later that month in May, I soon realized that running doesn't discriminate. Doesn't matter if you are white, black, rich, poor, homeless, or not. And for good reason, these guys on this corner reminded me a lot of my dad, who is amazing and friendly and benevolent, but just a little rough around the edges. And I thought, running can probably make these guys feel as good as it makes me feel. And they can reap all the benefits that I have about feeling good about who I am, discovering my capabilities and my potential, and why don't I share that with them? So I called up the shelter and I told them my brilliant idea, and he told me there's no way this is going to work. These guys do not want to run, but if you want to come and volunteer with the shelter, you can do that. I didn't want to do that. So I convinced him to just ask these guys if they're interested. And 2 weeks later, I get an email with the names of 9 guys and their shoe sizes and asking me, what's next. So around this same time, I get this call from this company and get an amazing job offer. More money than a 26-year-old should have, and a better opportunity, like an amazing opportunity. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is everything I've been wanting, right? Everything I've been working toward, everything that's been in my box. So I took the job. What else was I do? I was too scared not to, even though I was really excited about this running club idea. So I asked them for 5 weeks just to get this thing started and get enough people involved that it would work without me. So I walk up to the shelter, and first off, they didn't know it was some young blonde coming in there to teach them to run. So I walk in and I get these looks, and they cross their arms and wonder, who the heck's this white chick coming in here? What can you possibly, know about us? So I opened up about my dad and his addiction issues and my love of running and how I just wanted to share that. And so everybody from that first day got new shoes and new clothes, and most importantly, which you guys also signed, I know, is a dedication contract. That it was simple language put together about what this running club at the time was going to be. You were going to be on time, you were going to show up 3 days a week, you were going to come with a positive attitude, we were going to expect you to be there, and we were going to expect you to support each other. And these guys looked at me as if no one had asked them to sign something like that in a really long time, if ever, in their lives, to be positively accountable for their actions. So we all signed it and dated it, and had our first run together on July 3rd of 2007. all of a sudden the media started calling and doing stories on us, and people started calling and wanting to get involved with what we were doing. And this circle of me and these 9 guys all of a sudden grew to 10 and 15 and 20 people. And some more of these amazing observations started happening. You know, we used to have this poster board where we would track everybody else because we wanted to, you know, have some kind of program we could incentivize people for the work that they're doing. And everybody's name would be on the left-hand side of this poster board, and then the numbers would be at the top to represent the mileage. At the end of each run, I would take this marker and color in the miles for the day. And when I got to a specific member's name, this guy would just hover over me and watch me give them credit for the work that they did. And it's moments like that that, you know, help you realize that we're all the same. All of us in this room are very different. The way that we look, our hairstyles, obviously, our, you know, our religions, our races, our backgrounds, our education, but we're all human, and we all have the desire to be appreciated and valued and cared for and loved. And without that, it's really hard to be successful in life. How can you expect somebody in a state of homelessness to move forward by not having this emotional well-being, by not knowing that they're excellent, by not knowing that they have the potential to do everything that they've ever wanted to do? We need people to remind us of that every single day of our lives. And so many of us take that for granted and think that everybody has friends and family that are going to be able to tell them that. And that's not so true. And so this, you know, idea starts forming that if these individuals in this shelter are benefiting from this program the way that I see that they are, I can feel it. They're smiling more, they're happy, the pride factor is so huge that there must be other people in the same situation in Philadelphia that could also use this program. And what about people all over the country who could use this program? I sound like I'm naive, but that was this vision and this dream. And for me personally, I started to feel like my life was starting to make sense. You know, here is a sport that I used to help me through the most difficult time of my life, and for years wanted answers for all those things. And all I had to do was take what made me feel good about myself and share that with other people. It was so simple. And you know, so I'm sitting there thinking, I can't take this big fancy job, you know, and everybody's asking me these questions of, well, how are you going to pay your rent? How are you going to make this work? And I really didn't know. But I knew that there was something amazing here and that this was a moment that I had to make a decision. And I really felt that it wasn't anything that I was doing. I felt like there was this higher power, a bigger picture, a bigger purpose happening. And for whatever reason, I was chosen as the messenger to make this whole thing work. It was my obligation, my duty, and my extraordinary privilege to be able to spread, you know, this sport to so many people and have people come together and forget about their differences and focus on their similarities to help one another. So I turned down the job, and ever since then have been, you know, surrounding myself with some really smart people who really know what they're doing. I didn't do any of this, by the way. This was everybody else. Really smart people, and we've been learning and growing and screwing up and fixing and making more mistakes and listening and observing and really building something that's helping people move from the state of homelessness to get into an independent lifestyle. Back on My Feet is not a running club. We are a running-based program that is 6 to 9 months long, that as long as you're putting in the dedication that it takes to be good at life, that you can put that into this organization, you're going to go places. We're going to support you, we're going to help you. We have partners like ACE to help us with our financial literacy component, partners like Accenture to help us with our job training skills, and really sitting down and learning about each and every one of you, where you want to be, what you want to do, what your talents are, what your skills are, and giving you the resources and tools to be successful. And that's what Back on My Feet is all about. And everybody in here today, you know, when I was sitting there and thinking about, do I take this big job or do I try to make this into an organization that can help all these people? Well, people looked at me like, Ann, you know, you're one person. What can you possibly do? And you start to look around. You know, you look around Dallas, you see all these companies, these buildings. One person had to do something. One person had to say something. You know, the world doesn't change any other way. So everybody in this room has taken this, you know, this first step to support people going through homelessness and helping them, again, find that life that everybody deserves, which is filled with happiness and hope and opportunity. And it's amazing to see so many people in here who also believe in that concept.